Close your eyes. Imagine waking up in 1789 Paris, not as a noble, not as a revolutionary hero, but as someone who exists quietly at the edges. You are hungry, cold, and confused. You don't know what liberty means, but you do know what an empty stomach feels like. This isn't the musical version of history. There's no grand chorus of revolutionaries, just the low grumble of neighbors arguing over stale bread and the latest rumors. This is the French Revolution. And it's not glorious, it's miserable. You've probably heard about guillotines and Bastille Day and angry mobs with pitchforks. But what you haven't heard is what the air smelled like: smoke, sweat, and spoiled milk. You haven't heard how loud the streets were at dawn, how people muttered prayers not for freedom, but for food. We're not here to relive battles. We're here to drift through discomfort, to sink slowly into the grime of a history that nobody asked to live through. Tonight, we won't storm anything. We'll tiptoe through revolution with all the urgency of a lazy sigh. Because the truth is, you probably wouldn't last a day. There are no soft mattresses, no hot water, no breakfast waiting. If you're lucky, you've got yesterday's bread and a little soup. If not, you start your day with the taste of nothing and the sound of someone else getting arrested outside your window. People are afraid, not just of soldiers or nobles, but of each other. One wrong phrase, one wrong look, and you could end up accused of treason. And treason now means a very quick haircut you didn't ask for. Let's move slowly. Let your thoughts settle. Let each image of discomfort gently pile on like layers of old wool. Not warm, not soft, just there. You will meet people who cannot sleep, because their children cry from hunger, because the street screams at night, because the future is too unstable to trust. The nobility is sweating too. They clutch their lace and wine and wonder if tonight is the night the mob comes for them. Gold doesn't soften fear, and through it all, the city breathes. Sometimes slowly, like now, sometimes sharply, like a blade. You might hear about Marie Antoinette. You might hear the phrase, "let them eat cake," but that was never about cake. It was about the endless distance between comfort and survival. So tonight, we're going to walk through that distance, softly, sleepily, without drama. You won't hear speeches or slogans, just the low hum of revolution's underbelly, the part of history that smelled bad, hurt worse, and lasted longer than anyone wanted. If you're still awake, don't worry. You're doing better than most people were back then. And if you're starting to drift, good, that's what this is for. This isn't a revolution, this is relief. Let's fall asleep to history. And remember, there were no toothbrushes, no aspirin, no socks without holes. Most people didn't own a mirror. You rarely knew what you looked like, only how you felt. And most days, that was tired. Shoes, if you had them, were stiff and worn. Your feet ached. But that didn't stop the walking. Walking to markets with no food, walking past posters with names crossed out, walking around beggars who looked just like you. Children didn't play loudly, they watched, listened, knew too much for their age. And at night they huddled close, not for warmth but for reassurance, that tomorrow their parents would still be there, that their street would still exist. Even the city's silence was suspicious. Too quiet meant something was being. The sun rises over Paris, but it doesn't bring light, it brings smoke. Chimneys cough out black soot, bread ovens belch burnt crust, and somewhere cabbage soup simmers too long. That's how morning smells in the Revolution, burnt, boiled, and slightly bitter. You wake up on a lumpy mattress stuffed with hay. The straw pokes your back. Your blanket smells like feet and damp walls. Someone next to you snores. Someone on the other side mumbles in their sleep. And outside, a bell tolls, not for prayer but for ration lines. There's no time for stretching. You sit up fast to beat the noise. Boots are laced without socks. Shirts are pulled on without washing. Teeth Maybe you chew a mint leaf if you're lucky. Mostly, you just press your lips together and pretend nobody notices. Your stomach grumbles. It has opinions. It's been empty since yesterday afternoon, when you had broth thickened with bread crust. Today's breakfast will be the same. If you get it, if the line's not too long, if the baker's not out, if someone with more coins doesn't push past you. The street is already crowded. People shuffle past, not talking, just grunting, eyes down, faces pale, scarves tight. Everyone wants bread. Everyone wants change. Nobody knows how to get either. Posters on the walls show lists of enemies. Some names are crossed out. Those people are gone now. You try not to look too long, in case someone sees you reading, in case someone thinks you care, in case someone thinks you know too much. Vendors are setting up. Rotten fruit, watered wine, meat that smells suspicious. You pretend to browse. You can't afford anything, but looking makes you seem normal. Being normal is the safest thing you can be. You pass the bakery. The line wraps around the building. You join it. It doesn't move. Children cry. Mothers hiss at them to hush. A man behind you coughs. Deep, wet, worrying. Nobody turns around. The air is thick, not just with smoke, but with tension. A woman whispers about a noble caught trying to flee. Another talks about soldiers marching nearby. Nobody says these things loudly. No one wants to be overheard. You feel your feet getting colder. The cobblestones suck the warmth from your soles. You bounce in place, but not too much. Don't draw attention. Someone cuts the line. There's a murmur. One brave voice protests. The man ignores it. He gets bread. The rest of you get silence. You wonder if today is the day everything changes, or the day it all stays exactly the same. And somehow, despite it all, pigeons coo from the rooftop. Life continues, because it must. This is morning in the revolution. And it's only just begun. Eventually the line moves. Slowly, you shift forward an inch, then another. You stare at the back of a coat that hasn't been washed in months. It smells like onions and wool and fear. You don't check the time. There is no clock. You measure the day by shadow, by sound. When the bell chimes again, it means the rations are almost gone. And then, finally, you're at the front. The baker doesn't look at you. He just hands you a hunk of bread. It's hard, lighter than it should be. You nod. He nods. No one smiles. No one speaks. You don't eat right away. You save it. You break a piece off slowly, like it's gold. You chew slowly too, to make the moment last. A friend passes you. They don't stop, just glance. A flicker of recognition, enough to say by midday, Paris feels louder. Not from cheering or celebration, but from scraping carts, clattering shoes and voices layered in frustration. The revolution doesn't march proudly. It stumbles, mutters and sweats. The streets are mud, not metaphorically, actual, slippery, grimy mud, mixed with garbage, with waste tossed from windows, with ashes swept from stoves. Your boots squish and slide. If they had holes, and they probably do, your socks are soaked. Vendors shout half-heartedly, turnips, buttons, old spoons. You're not sure if it's a market or a scavenger hunt. A man sells candles from a box strapped to his chest. Another sells poems written shakily on torn paper. You buy nothing. You keep moving. Graffiti lines the walls. Down with the king. Bread, not bullets. Sleep is betrayal. Some of it's crossed out. Some of it's fresh. You wonder who wrote it, and if they're still around. There's a rally down the street. Not loud yet. Just a circle of people talking with sharp eyes and sharper words. You walk a little faster. Rallies turn into mobs. Mobs turn into memories. You pass a noble carriage. Empty. Its crest scratched off. Someone threw tomatoes at it. Now flies buzz where pride once sat. Children play in the alley, but not with toys. They're poking something with a stick. You don't look too closely. You've seen enough strange shapes in the mud. Someone bumps your shoulder. No apology, just a glance. You glance back, but briefly. Eye contact invites conversation. Conversation invites suspicion. And today, nobody needs that. You duck into a side street, quieter here. A woman sits on a stoop, peeling potatoes with a knife that looks more like a weapon. Her eyes meet yours. You nod. She nods back. That's enough. The city smells of sweat, meat, and fear. A butcher hangs cuts outside his shop, swatting flies with a cloth. A line waits, quiet. You think of your bread and move on. The streets twist and narrow. Paris is not organized. It's a maze with secrets. Alleys lead to courtyards. Courtyards lead to nowhere. And every corner feels like it might hold a surprise or a mistake. You step over a puddle that might be water, might not. A rat darts across. It's missing part of its tail. You try not to imagine why. This is liberty, you remind yourself. This is the new world. This is progress. But it doesn't feel like it. It feels like waiting, like holding your breath between headlines, like trying to nap during a thunderstorm. And yet, people move. They buy, they sell, they argue, they flirt, they live. You keep walking, because in the revolution, standing still is the most dangerous thing of all. You reach the edge of the plaza. There's a group there, not a mob, not yet. But their voices ripple like tension in still water. Words like justice and traitor float through the air. You pretend not to hear them, pretend you have somewhere to be. A dog barks, loud, sharp, you jump slightly, so do two others nearby. Everyone's nerves are stretched thin, tuned to break. In the doorway of a bakery, a man leans silently. He watches, doesn't blink much. You can't tell if he's guarding the bread or just soaking in the street. Either way, you don't linger. You step around a pile of broken crates. Inside one, a single shoe, child-sized. Someone's story, left behind in pieces. In another alley, a violin plays, soft, slow, almost lost in the noise. It's the sound of resistance, or maybe just someone trying to forget. You pause, briefly, to listen. Then you walk. The afternoon begins with the search for more food. Bread again, or soup, or anything that doesn't crunch when it shouldn't. Hunger is no longer a sharp pain. It's a dull fog that colors everything. It makes people slow, makes their eyes heavy, makes tempers short. You join another line. This one is longer. No one speaks. Feet shuffle, shoulders hunch. There's a rhythm to it, a tired dance of need and patience. Someone ahead of you has a cart. It creaks with every inch forward. You wonder what they'll do with what they get. Feed a family, sell it for coins, trade it for safety. To your left, an old man reads aloud from a newspaper. His voice cracks. The headlines are heavy with names and accusations. Enemies of the people, it says. You don't recognize the names, but you understand what they mean. Someone is gone. Behind you, two women whisper. You catch words like arrested and denounced. You don't turn around. You don't ask questions. You've learned not to. The line inches forward. A child cries nearby. The mother quiets him with a piece of cloth dipped in broth. He chews it slowly like it's candy. A man steps out of line, leaves, without a word. No one reacts. Maybe he gave up, maybe he's been called, maybe he knows something you don't. You finally reach the front. A thin woman hands you a bowl. Inside, soup, or something pretending to be. You nod, she nods. You step aside and sit on the curb. It's hot, salty, better than nothing. You sip slowly, watching the steam rise and disappear into the cold air. It feels like a small act of survival. Someone nearby is telling a story about a cousin who saw the guillotine. How fast it was, how clean, how quiet. The storyteller's voice is soft. He's not trying to scare anyone, just fill the silence. You don't want to hear it, but you do. And once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. The afternoon air shifts. A breeze carries more than chill. It carries tension. There's talk of another march, another protest, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight. You've seen what marches become. You've seen what shouting leads to. You keep your head down and finish your soup. This is not about courage. It's about surviving until dusk, and dusk is still far away. A woman next to you scrapes her bowl clean with her finger, then licks her finger, then the bowl again. Her eyes don't meet yours. They're focused on not wasting. Someone passes with a loaf of bread, not large, not fresh, but whole. People watch without watching. A quiet envy, a hunger that knows better than to speak. Two boys run past, barefoot, shouting something that might be joy or might be warning. It's hard to tell these days. Even laughter sounds like alarms. You hear a bell ring in the distance. Not a church bell. Not anymore. Now bells mean announcements, or executions, or both. You rise slowly. Your knees crack. You tuck the bowl under your arm, like it's treasure. It might be the only thing you carry home. As you walk, you notice more posters. A new list of names, fresh ink, still wet. You don't stop. You've seen enough lists for one life. There's a smell in the air now, metallic, sharp. You don't follow it. You don't need to. You pass a group of people arguing. You catch only fragments. Justice, committee, bread, traitor. You keep walking. That word, traitor, sticks like a thorn. By the time you reach your street, your hands not far from the bread lines, behind tall gates and thick stone walls, the nobility lies awake. Their beds are bigger. Their rooms are warmer. But comfort has turned into anxiety. Pillows don't soften panic. A marquis stares at the ceiling. His wig sits on a stand like a decapitated warning. He hasn't worn it in days. It feels like a costume now. Too loud, too proud. Down the hall, his wife rereads an old letter. Her hands tremble. It's from a cousin, gone now, arrested, or disappeared. She doesn't know which is worse. Servants walk softer. Doors close quieter. Everyone's pretending nothing's wrong, and no one believes it. Dinner was smaller than usual. The kitchen staff left early. Someone didn't show up at all. No one asks why. There's talk of leaving, of escaping. But where would they go? Who would take them? And would they make it through the city? Outside, a carriage rattles past. Everyone freezes. No knock at the door, not this time. The youngest daughter has stopped playing the piano. She says her hands feel stiff. No one questions it. In the drawing room, a portrait has been taken down. It was too large, too regal, too much of a target. Whispers in the hall. Who can be trusted? The butler, the tutor, the man who sharpens the knives, a knock at the gate, just a delivery, bread. But still, the silence afterward is too long. In a gilded bedroom, a noble woman removes her jewelry and hides it beneath a loose floorboard, just in case. She tells no one. The fireplace crackles. Shadows dance. Every creak in the wood sounds like judgment. They lie in silk, but they don't sleep. Their dreams are filled with crowds, with torches, with red sashes, with names chanted in anger. Some of them pray, not out loud, quietly, urgently, because now they understand what fear feels like, and fear doesn't care how soft your mattress is. A chandelier sways slightly in the draught. It shouldn't move, but it does. The Marquis notices. He wonders if it's a sign. Everything feels like a sign now. The wine stays corked. The room is too quiet for toasts, too aware for indulgence. A son sneaks a candle into the library. He reads pamphlets he's not supposed to have. Ideas flow between the lines, ideas sharper than any blade. He doesn't tell his parents. He's not sure which side he's on anymore. In the corridor, a maid hums as she cleans. The song is familiar, old, innocent, but her eyes are distant. She sings to stay calm. She cleans to stay unnoticed. A nobleman writes letters he won't send. Apologies, defenses, pleas. He practices his signature, wondering if it will be needed. On a confession. They sleep in shifts now. Someone always awake, listening, watching. Even the dogs seem nervous. They bark at nothing, or maybe at something only they can sense. Candles burn lower. Wax drips like time passing too slowly. Outside, the sky darkens again, but there's no peace in dusk, Only more questions, more what-ifs. They used to fear boredom. Now they miss it. They used to mock hunger. Now they whisper about rations. And though their linens are clean and their walls are thick, they know what's coming. Fear has leveled them all. No guillotine required, yet. And when they do sleep, it is not restful. It is retreat. When morning comes, they'll rise with eyes that barely closed. They'll dress in silence. They'll read reports with trembling fingers, because no one sleeps well when the ground beneath them is cracking. And tonight, the Bastille. You've heard the name. It sounds grand. Solid, revolutionary, but you've never been inside. Until now, you're not a prisoner, not yet. You're part of the crowd. Sweaty, tired and curious, everyone saying today is the day it falls. You didn't come to fight. You came because someone said there would be bread, or weapons, or history. You're not sure which, but you followed the noise anyway. The square is packed. People stand shoulder to shoulder, breathing each other's air. Some carry pitchforks, others carry hope. You carry nothing but your feet and your breath. There are chants, loud, uneven, words like freedom and down and now. Someone has a drum. It's not in rhythm, but it keeps beating. Smoke curls above the rooftops. Somewhere, something is burning. No one seems to care. You inch closer to the gates. The Bastille looms. It's uglier than you imagined. Tall, grey, unmoving. It doesn't look afraid, but maybe it should be. Shots ring out, you duck, everyone ducks, then everyone stands, someone shouts, someone bleeds. The crowd ripples but doesn't run. You're too close now to leave, and too far to see. You feel heat, hear steel on stone, taste sweat on your lips. Eventually, the gates open, not with grace, with noise, splinters, screams. A wave of bodies rushes forward. You stay back. You breathe. Later, you go inside. The guards are gone. The walls are cracked. The rooms are dark and damp. It smells like mold, blood and secrets. The cells are small, no windows, just straw, a chain, a bowl. You can't imagine sleeping here, but someone did. Someone carved their name into the wall. The letters are uneven. Deep, they had time. You run your fingers over them. Try to read. Try to feel what they felt. But you can't. You're free. Outside, people cheer. They've taken it. Whatever it is. A fortress. A symbol. A story. You leave with a splinter in your hand and silence in your throat. The Bastille has fallen, but comfort did not rise. You wander deeper. Down stone steps, worn smooth by years of pacing feet. The air grows colder, heavy, like it hasn't moved in centuries. Torches flicker on damp walls. Shadows stretch like fingers across iron bars. Everything echoes, every drip, every footstep, every breath. You pass an old cell with its door open. Inside, only silence. The walls are scratched. Not just names, marks, days, weeks, madness. You're not sure. A chair sits in the corner, 3 legs, one broken. Still, someone once sat there, for hours, maybe for years. You wonder what they thought about to stay sane. In the next room, chains hang from the ceiling. No explanation, just rust and space and imagination. You don't stay long. You find papers in a drawer, ripped, water-stained. You can't read the writing, but you recognize fear in the smudges. In the courtyard, someone swings a hammer, breaking a stone into souvenirs. People cheer. A child holds up a pebble like a trophy. History, pocket-sized. You take nothing. You already carry too much. The sun is lower now. The crowd is thinner. Faces shine with sweat and something else. Hope, maybe, or relief. Someone starts singing. Not a hymn, not a chant, just a song about morning and rain and freedom. The notes wobble, but no one stops them. You look back once more. The Bastille stands smaller now, or maybe you're just taller. You walk away slowly, carefully, as if leaving too fast might undo everything. But deep down, you know, The hardest part isn't tearing things. You'd think the prisons would be emptier after the Bastille, but they're fuller. Different walls, same cold floors, same silence. You're not a guard, not yet a prisoner, just a witness. Someone who delivers things, who hears things, who sees too much and says too little. The hallway smells like wet stone and boiled linen. Metal clangs somewhere far off. It echoes like memory. You pass a row of cells. Some are quiet. Some hum with whispered prayers. Some just breathe. A man in the first cell stares at the ceiling. His lips move, but no sound comes. You don't ask questions. Not anymore. Another writes with charcoal on the wall. Names, dates, or maybe poems, maybe curses. You can't tell. You reach the end of the hall. There's a table. A guard sits behind it. He doesn't look up. You place your parcel. He nods once. You turn back. As you walk, someone calls out, softly, your name. You pretend not to hear. That's safer. At night, the prison creaks like an old ship. Water drips. Rats scurry. Someone always coughs. You sleep in a storeroom. Barely a room. Just enough space for a blanket and thoughts you don't want. You curl up, face the wall, try not to listen. In the cell above, a woman cries, not loud, not for help, just the kind of crying that happens when there's nothing else left to do. You wonder how long she's been here. You wonder if she remembers sunlight. Some say these prisoners are dangerous, enemies, spies, traitors, but they don't look dangerous. They look tired. The next morning, someone is missing. The guard shrugs. Transferred, he says. No one asks where. You deliver another parcel, this one heavier. Bread, chains. You don't open it. You never do. A boy in the hallway asks if you've seen his father. You shake your head. He nods like he expected that. These are not dungeons of evil, just quiet rooms of forgetting. The revolution needed space for its justice. And justice, it turns out, needs many locks. Some prisoners keep their backs to the bars. They don't want to see you, or maybe they don't want you to see them. Shame, perhaps, or strategy. There's a painter here, or was. He draws with his fingers on the dust. Faces, always the same one. You wonder who she is. The candles burn low, and the shadows grow longer. You carry a torch sometimes, but it flickers too much. It makes the faces seem alive. You once heard laughter. One burst quickly cut off. You never found out who it was, but it stayed with you. In the corner near the stairwell, someone sings. Every night, one verse. Same voice, always unfinished. A tray drops in the dark. A guard swears. Somewhere else, a key turns. In your dreams, you walk the corridor again. The same door. The same silence, but this time they call your name and you stop. You wake sweating. Every time. They say this is part of progress, that freedom needs order, that fear is part of building something better. But you wonder, if progress feels like this, why does it sound so quiet? Another day, another delivery, another name you try not to learn, and the walls, ever patient, hold it all without judgment. That's their job. Yours is to forget. And so you do. And the silence, it's not just absence of sound. It's memory refusing to speak. It's guilt with nowhere left to hide. You breathe deeply, not for peace, just to remind yourself you're still out here. And now the day ends. Paris grows quiet, not peaceful, just tired. Feet stop marching, voices lower, doors lock. Candles flicker out. You lie on your blanket, back on the floor. Your hands are rough. Your thoughts are louder than you'd like. But you're still here. The revolution is not over, not by a long shot, but the sun has set. And tonight, there's nothing left to do but try to sleep. You think about the day, about bread that didn't fill, about posters with too many names, about shadows behind stone walls. You think of the woman in the Bastille cell, the nobleman hiding his gold, the child watching his soup cool too fast. You think of the street that smelled like burning and the song that stopped halfway through. You remember the silence, and how even it felt dangerous. If you had to choose between liberty and a warm mattress right now, you'd hesitate. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you're tired. So tired. This isn't a story about heroes. It's about everyone else. The ones who didn't shout, who didn't fight, who just tried to make it to bedtime with dignity and tact. You survived the revolution, at least one day of it. And that's enough. Let the fire die down. Let the flags droop. Let the slogans rest. Because sometimes the bravest thing in history is simply falling asleep. And if you're still awake now, let that be your revolution. To rest, to forget, to let go. And tomorrow we'll wake up again, hungry, maybe, but still here. And maybe that's what liberty really feels like. So breathe in, breathe out, and drift. If this story helped you rest tonight, consider helping this channel grow. Tap like and subscribe, or just share it with someone else who needs a little calm in the chaos. Good night and mercy. You hear a breeze through the shutters. Not quite wind, not quite stillness. Just enough to remind you the world keeps turning, even when it feels stuck. The night holds everything the day couldn't finish. Questions without answers, fears with no names, 1,000 whispers too quiet to say aloud. But they don't matter now, not here, not in this moment. History is noisy, but your room is quiet, and in that quiet there's something revolutionary. You survived crowds, rumors, glances, hunger, and the worst thing you did today was hope. Hope that tomorrow might be easier. Hope that sleep would come. Hope that you are still a person in a world that keeps shifting. And you are. You are not a name on a list. You are not a poster on a wall. You are not a forgotten bowl on a prison floor. You are here, still breathing, still blinking, still holding on to something soft, even if it's just this voice. So when you close your eyes tonight, don't worry if you drift quickly or slowly. Don't worry if you dream of rooftops or soup or silence. Just know that you've lived through a day in the French Revolution. And if you made it through this, you'll make it through tomorrow too. History is hard. Sleep is harder. But both are worth returning to. And this story, this long, quiet story, is always here when you need it again. Just press play, close your eyes, and let the past carry you to rest. Merci for walking slowly through this day with me. And if you found peace in these worn-out cobblestones, then maybe you found a little piece of yourself too. Until next time, rest well. And remember, even revolutions pause for sleep. Sleep safely.